the show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the world who are shaping the global business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Elizabeth Venafro. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is the Senior Director of Marketing at Sorcero. Sorcero is a really interesting company. If anyone has ever seen the mind-boggling data that sits in any type of a medical or pharma or really almost any business in that space, one can imagine if there was a tool that could allow that to be sorted and processed and help with that challenge, it would be brilliant. And that really is where Sorcero plays. And so we're excited to learn more about that, Elizabeth. But before we get there, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career today.
Sure. So I spent about 9 years at the beginning of my career with a medical device company. I was with them from startup through IPO. So, really exciting opportunity. And I acted as their director of global marketing communications. And so, pretty soon after we went public, I actually co founded a social engagement platform with the CEO from the company I had been working with prior. And, that was my gig for a couple years. I then moved on to a couple AI software companies and still in the role of, heading up marketing. And now I'm the head of marketing at Sorcero. And so it really combines my background of, life sciences with AI. So it really is a great fit.
Yeah, I can see that. It really kind of brings all of those elements together. So tell me about the new challenge at Sorcero. It sounds like an amazing project you guys are working on.
Sure. So, obviously, as a startup, you wear many hats, and there's so much to do. So, I'd say probably the biggest challenge is, feeling like there's never enough time in the day. But I guess the upside is, I personally love the energy from a high growth startup organization. That's, really the right fit for me. And so I wake up every morning super excited to get to work and knowing that the technology that we are providing isn't just affecting the business world, but just the general population. So essentially, our technology that we provide augments the expertise of subject matter experts and decision makers within life sciences. And ultimately, that can improve patient outcomes. So I love knowing that the work we're doing can have that major impact on everyone.
So, Elizabeth, maybe if you could just like walk me through how Sorcero would work for a life sciences company.
Sure. So if you take the example of perhaps the medical affairs team within a large pharmaceutical company,
Mhm.
they are, subject matter experts, but they are tasked with the tedious job of going through huge amounts of or sorry, not marketing content, but medical literature
Right.
to extract all this various information on their company's products. And it's really just quite time consuming. And the challenge for them is that the amount of content just increases exponentially year after year. And so it's just not realistic for that to be a manual process for some of these folks who are PhDs and MDs. It's really a tedious process for them. So we apply AI to that and make it so that they can consume more of the content.
Mhm.
We can make sure that they're pulling out the most relevant pieces, making sure that it's the most accurate information that they're extracting, and just general time savings and increase in productivity.
I love it. I wish I could apply this, Elizabeth, to everything in my life.
Yeah.
you know, you know, just as a joke, obviously we're at that moment where kids are going back to school, and I received the I don't know, the 10,000 word email the other day from the school. And and all I could think of was, man, I really wish I had a product like Sorcero to just go through this and tell me the 5 things that I really need to know.
For sure. I mean, that's the beauty of AI and what gets me really excited about the future where this organization can go. Because, while we're focusing so much on life sciences right now, it truly is applicable to all sorts of verticals.
So as Sorcero develops and kind of prepares for its next phase, I mean, we're coming out of this moment where we've been living a strange existence during the pandemic, and now we see a lot of companies emerging out in a hybrid structure. How are you guys managing that process right now? How are you guys working as a business?
Sure. So, us personally, as employees, the organization, we work remotely for the most part, regardless of
Mhm.
COVID. We do try to assemble 1 week each month in person, as appropriate, depending on COVID, and also making sure that we're getting together not just for the sake of getting together, but that it's truly going to benefit us from being face to face. So a lot of us are based here in the DC area, but we
Mhm.
are also dispersed throughout not just the country, but the world, in fact.
Yeah.
So we obviously leverage a lot of the same tools that I'm sure everyone else is using right now with Zoom and other types of interfaces to make sure that we are still communicating well internally in the organization.
That's great. It sounds like you are already structured for any type of evolution or change that we might face. Probably the AI somehow has already told you what the future has to hold for the rest of us. But I mean, as you guys plan out for the next year or 2 years, what are top of mind for Sorcero?
Sure. So, kind of as I was mentioning before, while our focus is very much on life sciences right now, I think we want to look at other verticals and also the various use cases within each of those verticals.
Mhm.
So, a big focus for us right now, specific to life sciences, is in intelligent literature monitoring, medical guidelines management, helping organizations with new European regulatory guidelines such as IBDR, MDR. But really, there are so many other use cases, and not just for the medical affairs and scientific affairs
Mhm.
teams, but all of the other groups within the organization. Could be business development. It could
Yeah.
be, um, it really could be anyone within the organization, and they're each also a lot of times with these larger life science companies. They have many different specialties. So one group might be focusing on oncology. Well, there are so many other areas that our technology can be applied. So that's just life sciences. So imagine, applying that to other industries. I'd say, health insurance
Mhm.
is probably a big one that we may focus on in the future, as well as the insurance industry, or sorry, as well as the finance industry.
Right.
Those are top of mind, but it really is endless.
Yeah, it truly is, and everyone needs these types of solutions. And I completed a PhD in machine learning and marketing actually last year, beginning of last year, and I look at tools like Sorcero as something that is like a great kind of a piece of a helpful tool that anyone can be applying to their organization. Um, at this stage. Some of the stuff that we hear about AI just is so far flung, and it just isn't that it's not working as well as it should. But this is a particularly useful area and something that companies really, really need to get their handle on. So I'm really happy to hear about Sorcero. Elizabeth, if someone wanted to learn more about what Sorcero and you're up to, where should they find you?
Sure. So our web address is www.sorcero.com. I also would encourage folks to subscribe to our blog so that they are updated anytime we put out something new.
That's great. Well, listen, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being on Uncaged today. We've been speaking with Elizabeth Venafro. She's the Senior Director of Marketing at Sorcero. And as you can see, we've been talking about the amazing stuff that Sorcero does in the life sciences space and basically making a ton of data much more understandable and bringing it together to make it more useful for folks using really the best in class of machine learning and AI. So, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being on the show today. We look forward to talking to you again.
Likewise.
Cheers.